I want to tell a story that changed my life. A story that made me see the past, present, and future in a new light. A story I would never want to live through again, but it happened to me. It all started many years ago. Back then, I was just an ordinary student. 2007. I had just entered university, full of hopes and plans. A new life, new people, new connections. That's where I first saw her. She was a year younger than me, just starting her journey, while I had already settled into campus life a little. She seemed different, not like everyone else. There was something in her smile that immediately drew me in. Not brightness, not fake confidence, but a kind of warm, calm energy. We met through mutual friends. At first, it was just casual conversations in the hallway, studying together in the library, joking during lectures, and then it became more. I felt like I could trust her. It was easy with her. I could be myself, without a mask and without trying to impress her. At that time, she was dating a guy, and I knew I had no right to interfere, so we were just friends. A year passed, and in 2009, her relationship started to fall apart. I saw how much it hurt her, how she tried to stay strong but was breaking inside. And I was there. I drove her home after classes. We could sit in the cafeteria for hours, just talking about everything in the world. I tried to support her, to make her feel she wasn't alone. And one day, she told me herself, "Thank you for being here." In that moment, I felt that there was something more between us. But I didn't rush. I knew she wasn't ready yet. She had to let go of the past. And then one winter evening, we ended up at a party together. Lots of friends, music, laughter. And suddenly, our mutual friend nudged my shoulder and winked. "Why aren't you two together yet?" We both laughed, and then our eyes met, and the world around us disappeared. That night we kissed for the first time, and that moment stayed with me forever. After that, everything changed. I finally asked her on a real date. I was nervous that she might say no, but she agreed. We went to a small cafe not far from campus. It was quiet there, almost empty. I don't remember what we ate. I only remember how she laughed, how her hair fell over her face when she leaned closer, and how I thought, this is her, the one. From that evening on, we started dating. Officially as a couple. 2010 became the beginning of a new life for me. I was happier than ever before. Every morning began with her messages. Every evening we tried to spend together. We could walk through the city at night, sit on a bench, and just be silent. And that was enough for me. For the first time, I felt truly loved. Yes, we were young and naive. We fought over silly things, but we always made up. I remember once she said, "I don't know what the future holds, but with you, I feel safe." Those words stuck in my head. I thought it was the beginning of something big. And I was right. With each month, our bond grew stronger. We studied for exams together. We planned summers together. We dreamed about the future together. I saw her as my wife. She saw me as the one who would always be there. And then I promised myself, I will never give her a reason to doubt me. I will always be by her side, no matter how hard it gets. In 2010, I told her for the first time, "I love you." She looked at me, smiled, and replied, "I love you too." And that was the moment when everything fell into place. I believed that only happiness awaited us ahead. I believed that this was the beginning of a long story. Years went by. We graduated from university. Adult life began. Work, career, bills, new worries. But through it all, we always had the most important thing. We had each other. Our relationship grew steadily, confidently. No loud scandals, no constant drama. That was exactly what I had always wanted. In 2016, we got married. It was the happiest day of my life. I stood at the altar, watching her walk toward me in a white dress. And I thought of only one thing. I'm ready to do anything, as long as she always smiles the way she does now. Since then, we lived like any married couple, working full days. In the evenings, we made dinner together, sometimes just ordered pizza. On weekends, we went to the movies or to visit friends. Our life was simple, but happy. Yes, we weren't able to have children. We tried, hoped, waited, but every time we were disappointed. Sometimes it was hard. I saw her tears. She saw my disappointment. But we always supported each other. We said, the most important thing is that we have each other. And I believed it. I was sure that we had a strong marriage, that we had no secrets, that we were honest with each other. And then came that Saturday. We were at her brother's barbecue. A big group, laughter, the smell of grilled meat, kids playing. Everyone was sitting in the yard, talking and having fun. I went into the house to grab something from the fridge. An ordinary moment, but it changed everything. I heard her voice. She was talking to her sister in the next room. At first, I didn't pay attention, but then I heard the phrase, "He must never find out about this." I froze. Something inside me broke. I didn't want to eavesdrop. I had never done that. But in that moment, I simply couldn't walk away. I stopped and listened. Her sister was talking about how she almost cheated on her boyfriend. She felt guilty, and my wife tried to comfort her. But what she said next destroyed my entire past. She confessed, at the very beginning of our relationship, she had slept with someone else, some lab assistant from the university. And it happened after we had already officially become a couple. I felt my hands turn cold. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. I couldn't believe I was hearing her voice, her words. She said, I wasn't sure if things would work out between us. And I just let it happen. It felt like being punched in the stomach. But then it got even worse. She added, I felt guilty when I saw how much he loved me. I could imagine our future, and I wanted to forget about it. Her sister asked, was there anything else? And my wife replied, no, it was only that one time. I want to forget it. Those words cut straight into my heart like a knife. I stood there, unable to move. Everything inside me was screaming. I wanted to burst into the room and ask, why? How could you? But I couldn't. I just froze and listened. Then I quietly walked away, pretending nothing had happened. But inside, I was already a different person. For her, it was the past. For me, it became the present. While she was laughing with the guests in the yard, I felt as if she had just cheated on me. Even though more than 10 years had passed, I could no longer look at her the same way. I could no longer trust her the way I used to. When we got home, she noticed something was wrong with me. I brushed it off, saying it was stress. But she knows me too well. She kept asking questions. I avoided the conversation because I didn't know what to say, because I didn't understand myself what to do next. My heart was broken. I felt betrayed. And at the same time, I realized it all happened so long ago. Before the wedding, before all these years together, before everything we built. But that didn't make it any easier. The pain was as sharp as if it had happened yesterday, as if she had just come home from another man. And I didn't know if I could ever forget what I had heard. From that evening, I stopped being myself. Everything changed in an instant. I looked at my wife and did not recognize her. Every gesture of hers, every word, I heard them differently. I saw her laughter, but I thought of how she laughed back then, 10 years ago, after that betrayal. I saw her care, but in my head sounded, he must never find out about this. Those words tore me to pieces. I began to remember our entire past. All the little things. Every night, she stayed out late. Every message, she answered slower than usual. Every, I'm tired, I don't want to talk tonight. And although I'd always trusted her, now everything seemed suspicious. I caught myself looking at her phone, even though I had never done that before. I checked the times of her calls, although I knew it was pointless. I looked for evidence where there was none, because I had already heard one piece of evidence, and it was the worst. I began to ask myself questions. What if it wasn't just the one time? What if she was hiding more? What if I had only seen the tip of the iceberg? How can I trust words when she had hidden the truth for so many years? I pictured her looking me in the eyes after that affair, saying, I love you, hugging me as if nothing had happened. And inside me, everything twisted. I felt like a fool, a person who had built his life on a lie. Yes, it was long ago, but that did not make it easier, because it was in those years that I loved her the most. Back then, I was sure we were pure with each other, that our story began honestly. But it turned out, no. Again and again, I replayed her confession in my head. I wasn't sure that things would work out between us. What does that mean? Is that how you build a relationship? Can you betray someone if you're not sure? Why didn't she tell me then? Why did she let me live for 10 years in ignorance? I found myself unable to sleep. I lay awake at night, listening to her breathing beside me, and thought, how could she? I would get up in the middle of the night, walk around the apartment, pour myself water, but could not swallow a drop. Everything inside was burning. Every morning, I woke up feeling emptiness. She tried to talk to me, asked, what's wrong? Why are you so cold? And I waved it off. Work, stress. But inside me, a storm was breaking. I was afraid I would lose control and explode. That I would say everything to her face, and we would fight in a way that left no way back. And I was not ready for that. Not ready to lose her. Because despite everything, I still loved her. I looked at her and saw the woman with whom I had spent the best years. The woman who supported me when I was struggling. The woman I dreamed of growing old with. And I did not know which outweighed the other, her betrayal or her love. I found myself trapped between the past and the present. I began to remember all our attempts to have a child, all the conversations where we cried together, all the nights when she held my hand and said, we'll get through this. And I asked myself, was it all a lie? Could a woman capable of betrayal fight beside me like that? I could not find an answer, and it drove me insane. Sometimes I imagine how things would have turned out if I had known back then, in 2010. I would have left immediately. I would have said, you cheated on me. I want nothing to do with you. I was younger then, bolder, more blunt. Then I would have torn everything apart without hesitation. But now we have a shared past, a shared home, a shared life. Now we are a family. And just to cross it all out, I didn't know if I could. I felt that I betrayed myself by pretending everything was fine. But at the same time, I was afraid of the truth. Because the truth could destroy everything. I lived between two worlds. A world where I still loved her, and a world where I could no longer trust her. And each day became heavier. Every kiss of hers felt different. Every good morning sounded false. Not because she had changed, but because I had changed. Now I knew. Now I could not unlearn that knowledge. And I did not know where to go next. I realized I couldn't handle this on my own. Weeks went by, and I only sank deeper into my own thoughts. I began to fear myself, to fear that one day I would not hold back and say something after which there would be no way back. That's when I made an appointment with a psychotherapist. It was my first time seeking help in my life. I came into the office, sat in the chair, and fell silent. For a long time, I couldn't utter a single word. There was a lump in my chest. Finally, I said, I learned something I never wanted to know, and it all poured out. I told him about the conversation I had overheard by accident, about her words said to her best friend, about how now, every night, I think about her affair from 10 years ago, and how all of it is killing me from the inside. The psychotherapist listened silently. Sometimes he asked questions. Sometimes he simply nodded. And then he said a simple phrase. You are not living in the present. You are living in 2010. But you were stuck there alone without her. She moved on. You went back. Those words struck me. I had never thought about it that way. For her, it was the past. For me, an open wound. I realized the only way was an honest conversation. Without, I wouldn't get out. I was afraid, but I decided to do it. The next evening, I told my wife, we need to talk. She was surprised. She sat across from me. I saw anxiety in her eyes. And I began. I told her I had accidentally heard her conversation with her friend. I told her I knew about that affair, about how for 10 years I had lived in ignorance, about how now every word of hers seems like a lie to me. I spoke with a trembling voice. Sometimes I gasped for air. Sometimes I stopped to catch my breath. And she was silent. She looked at me with wide eyes. Finally, she said, yes, it's true. I cheated on you. Back then, at the very beginning. I thought we wouldn't be together. I didn't believe it was serious. And I regretted it so much that I decided never to tell you. I listened and couldn't believe my ears. I hoped she would say, you misunderstood, that it would turn out to be a mistake. But she confirmed it, and I felt the ground fall away beneath my feet. She continued, since then, I have never cheated on you. I love you. Everything we have is real. But what I did back then, I cannot change. I was silent. I didn't know what to answer. Inside me, everything was boiling. I saw before me the woman I loved more than anything in the world. And at the same time, the woman who betrayed me at the very beginning. I asked her, why didn't you tell me then? She answered, I was afraid of losing you. I thought if I confessed, everything would end. And I couldn't allow that. I closed my eyes. One thought kept spinning in my head. She chose the lie. She chose to leave me in ignorance. 10 years. We sat for a long time. She cried. She begged for forgiveness. So it was the only thing she regretted in life. That I am everything to her. And I couldn't forgive, nor could I stop loving her. I was torn apart. That evening, I did not say that we were breaking up. I did not say that I forgave her. I simply went to another room and closed the door. I lay on the couch and stared at the ceiling until morning. Only one question echoed in my head. Can I live on with this knowledge? Can I forget? Or will it sit inside me forever? The next morning, I sat in the kitchen, staring at a cup of cold coffee. The light from the window fell onto the table, but it felt like darkness all around me. My wife walked in quietly, as if afraid to disturb me. She sat across from me. Her eyes were red, swollen. It looked like she had cried all night. I had barely slept too. We sat in silence, and that silence was louder than any scream. Finally, I spoke. I don't know what to do. My voice sounded foreign. She answered with a trembling voice. I know you'll never be able to forget. But please, don't destroy everything because of one mistake I made 10 years ago. One mistake? Those words hit me like a hammer. For her, it was a mistake. For me, a shattered life. I looked at her and asked, and how am I supposed to trust you now? How do I look into your eyes without thinking about it? She started crying again. I don't know, but I'm ready to do anything to make you trust me again. And in that moment, I realized she was truly afraid of losing me. But was that enough for me? Because trust isn't something you can bring back with just a promise. I started remembering everything we had been through together. All the hard years, all the fights and reconciliations, all the holidays, the trips, the moments of happiness. And I asked myself, does all of that get erased by one act? Maybe yes, maybe no. I imagined my life without her. An empty house, a cold bed, silence where once her laughter was. I realized I wasn't ready for that. But at the same time, I realized I couldn't live like before anymore either. I needed time. I told her, I don't know if I'll ever forgive you, but I'm not ready to leave right now. She nodded. Tears rolled down her cheeks. We sat next to each other, but there was a chasm between us. A chasm that still had to be crossed. And then I asked myself the main question. Can I rebuild trust? Or will this crack remain between us forever? I still don't know the answer. But I know one thing. From that moment on, our life would never be the same again. What would you do in my place? Is it worth forgiving infidelity, even if it happened 10 years ago, and everything after was filled with love and support? Or is betrayal always betrayal? No matter how much time has passed? I'm still searching for the answer. And now I want to hear yours.